I should be audible right now. Great, sounds here. And another problem is that my browser is stuck by some reason. It is frozen. Great, people told me that I am audible. And one more moment, I will try to solve my problem with the browser. That's very strange that it's totally frozen. I will just remove this screen. Yeah, sorry for setting up all the stream right now in live. Actually, I tried to do it today morning and all worked fine. But right now the browser is totally frozen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's do at least this one. Yay. Okay, so you may notice that we have some problems with the chat, and that's because I just forgot to enable the chat in the YouTube stream, and right now unfortunately I'm not able to do it just because the stream is live, so I cannot edit any settings, and that's why I hope that you are okay with moving our chat to Discord server. So basically you can just go to this link and you will join our Discord server, which is fully dedicated to Rolling Scope School AWS Club. And in this server I propose you to go to a random channel and put any message. I will start a thread. So yeah, I have posted new thread in the random channel. So if you're here and you can hear me, oh great, I can see you guys. Okay, that's becoming more and more interactive, and I hope that we will have a lot of fun today. Because guys, I love this workshop that we are going to have here together a lot. And let's start with this workshop because we have a limited amount of time. So much of you guys, I'm so pleased to see all those replies. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, and I think that I will start with some small presentation because I have prepared it and I hope that you will enjoy it as well. So you may know that today we are going to have this workshop named Getting Started with Serverless. Yeah, and one small remark, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them live. And also we have our rock stars, Anton, Pavel, who are also in the chat and they will also answer your questions. Let's move on. And yeah, my first slide is about myself. It it might be a bit egoistic, but I want to introduce myself because where are my manners? So you may know that my name is Dajak Akbarov. My full name is Saidez Khan actually, but it is very tough to pronounce. So you can call me just Dajak. I'm okay with it. So I work as level 4 software engineer at EPAM. But actually, I started my career in this company after graduating from Rolling Scope School. So yeah, I was studying front-end development at Rolling Scopes, and look where I'm here. I'm streaming the workshop. Yeah, and my tech stack is JavaScript development, so I do use Angular for front-end. I write some backend code using Node.js as a platform, as a runtime, and usually I put my backend code to AWS. I deploy to AWS. And I am AWS community builder. That means that I do some kind of public speaking here in Tashkent, where I am located. And you might also mention that we have a small logo of AWS user group Tashkent and at the bottom of my screen. That's because this presentation was prepared for one of our meetups, and I was a bit lazy to remove this logo. I hope that you're okay with it too. So yeah, and I'm doing this user group. I'm running it here in Tashkent with my colleagues. And if you are located in Tashkent, feel free to join us on our meetups, workshops. We provide a lot of content, and I hope that you will enjoy it as well. If you are not located in Tashkent, because I know that Rolling Scopes is global thing actually, and I love it. So if you are located somewhere else, I think that you definitely have to look for any user groups in your location because it's worth it. You know, AWS communities are great. Those communities are the place where you can gain some experience, where you can some practical experience on workshop, for instance. Also, you can gain some knowledge, theoretical knowledge on meetups from tech talks. But the most important thing that I know about communities is that they are a great place for networking. Yeah, user group definitely is the place where you can meet your next buddy. Maybe it will be your learning buddy, maybe it will be just your new friend. Anyway, you can go and start your conversation with someone in the meetup. And if you don't have any user groups in your location, it's a great opportunity to start your own user group and to run it, to organize some workshops, meetups, and so on. Let's move to the next slide. So yeah, let's go to the topic. What does mean serverless? Actually, the most of people who heard this word serverless, they can just translate it as this is the way of having some workloads without any servers. But actually, it is not the truth because we have some servers beside the serverless. They underlie and they serve your workloads. So, but why do we call it serverless? Let's try to go through the all stack of resources that we have to be able to run any workload. So actually, we will need some server. Besides that, we will have to install some runtime which will execute your code, which will translate your code to machine language and will give you any outputs as a result for inputs. Besides that, we definitely have to have any storages because usually your applications will store some binary data, some user files. For instance, you are going to host some a brand new site and you want to store user pictures somewhere, you will have to set your own storage. Also, you will need to interact with database, which is used to store any data uh, in some persistent way. Also, if your service uh, will be bigger than a very small one, it will be middle level or some enterprise level service, you have to separate it into some splitted modules, chunks, which will interact with each other in some decoupled way. For instance, they may use some messaging systems, some message bus. Yeah, and of course, if you do have a lot of microservices which are deployed using some containers, you have to orchestrate them in some way. So you will face some new words for you like Kubernetes and so on. And yeah, and all this infrastructure is need only to keep your API on and to run your business logic. So it is quite a huge stack of resources which we do need for every even small website. And let's move to the concept which is developed as a serverless. So serverless in terms of cloud computing means that almost all the stuff that you need to run your code is fully managed by some other provider. In our case, it is AWS. So your code will be run on servers, will use some storages, messaging systems, message bus, for instance. It will use some databases, it will be orchestrated, and all this stuff will be managed by AWS. And AWS guarantees that all will be fine. Servers will work, messages in the queue will be delivered, and so on. All the stuff that you have to think about is only to provide proper code which will implement your business logic and manage the API, the public API, I mean. So basically, serverless is the concept which enables you to outsource all the management of infrastructure to your cloud provider and keep focus of development teams only on writing your code, and that's it. But why serverless? First of all, as I said before, you don't have to provision your infrastructure and you don't have to manage it. So you will have a bit less of headache, and I believe that it worth it also. In terms of business, you may think that you will exclude some DevOpses from your resources, so you don't have to pay a big amount of money to some people who will manage your infrastructure, who will deploy it, who will run it, who will manage observability, and so on. The second reason is automatic scaling, and this is kind of killer feature of serverless, because if you have, for instance, some website and you have very flat demand of your website, which is very close to zero, because your website is it might be very interesting, but usually all of us are creating some blog which is visited by 2 persons a week, but you decided to write some article about this website, and then you wrote it and you put it into some very popular resource, for instance haber.ru, and after that you will face increasing of load on the server, because a lot of people would like to see your service, would like to see your website, and so on, and you will see that your server is throttling and your server is not able to work with all this very high load. What about serverless? In that case, AWS is going to take care about all the stuff which is related to scaling. So AWS is guaranteeing that your services which are using serverless services are guaranteed in high availability, durability, and scalability. Let's go to the next reason. So the next reason is you pay as you go. And what does it mean? So as I said, your website might consume very, very, very small amount of resources on the server, which you are just trying to rent some VPS, for instance, but you will pay for the whole VPS, even if you are utilizing only 2% of it. But in the case of serverless, you will pay for each request which is done to your service, for instance, or for time which your code was running on this within this service. And this is very good choice if you are going to start your startup and you have a very small amount of money. Let's go. And yeah, as I said, serverless services are highly available, and this is guaranteed by AWS. And your code, which is provided to, for instance, to Lambda, will be duplicated within the region on many servers, and they will be located not even in one data center, but they will be located in multiple data centers. So your code will be guaranteed highly available. Also, it will be secure because AWS is going to maintain and manage security infrastructure as well. Let's move on. And here is the portfolio of serverless services which are provided by Amazon Web Services to you. So you guys can see that actually they have variety of services for a lot of use cases. For instance, for compute, we do have lambdas, we have Fargates. For database purposes, we have DynamoDB, we have Redshift, we have Aurora, and so on. It is really overwhelming, I believe, that we have a lot of services. And this list is not listing almost all the services that they do have. It is only the most popular ones. And let's move on to the services which we will use today. Yeah, and the first one, it is not a service. Actually, AWS SAM stands for Serverless Application Model. This is open source framework which we will use to develop our today's serverless application. So actually it is some kind of superset over the CloudFormation. So we will see some CloudFormation like templates to set our infrastructure up. And also SAM provides a very cool command line interface, which could be used to manage your infrastructure, to manage your serverless application. And one more killer feature of SAM is that it is able to invoke and to run your Lambda code locally. So technically, it's not fully, it's not the same if you run your Lambda in the cloud runtime in AWS after deployment, but it is very close to that. So you will be able to debug your Lambdas just using SAM locally. It will be a local run of your Lambda code. Okay, no questions yet, and let's move to the next service, which is AWS Lambda. So if you will ask me what is my favorite AWS service, I would answer you Lambda, because Lambda is brilliant thing. It is serverless computing service which allows you just put some code inside it and then run it, and that's it. It is very, very simple. And but when your code will be invoked, when it will run, actually we have, I forgot to mention that we have runtime for almost all popular languages. Like you can use your Lambda and write your code using Node.js, for instance. You can use Python, you can use C#, Java, and so on. And if your favorite language is not supported by Lambda, actually you will be able to run it inside the Lambda using custom runtime. So yeah, and as I said, your code has to be invoked by some way, and Lambda leverages event-driven invocation model. So you have to pass some event to your code, to your Lambda, to invoke it to yeah, nice picture. Yes, so you can run your Lambda code by some events. For instance, it might be some request from your users. It could be a file which is uploaded to your S3 bucket, and so on. Almost any event that you can overthink. Yes, and I said before, Lambda is very simple. All that you have to care is that your code works fine, and you will just deploy this code into the Lambda and it will run. But do we have any restrictions? Yes, we have. Yes, we do. We do have, definitely. Your Lambda code could not work more than 15 minutes. It will, if your code works more than 15 minutes, it will be failed by timeout. And except that, we have some limitations by the code bundle size. Actually, I'm not sure about the amount of this code bundle size itself, because I had no cases when I even was close to this limit. Let's move on to the next service, and it is DynamoDB. We will leverage DynamoDB as storage for the data in our today's case. And this is NoSQL database, which is pretty much like to key value database actually. And it is, NoSQL, as I said. DynamoDB is highly available, so you only define the region which you are going to use, and your DynamoDB database will be provisioned on the whole region. It will be available from multiple availability zones. It will be deployed to multiple availability zones. So you are almost guaranteed that you won't lose any data. Also, DynamoDB is fully scalable. Actually, Amazon says that DynamoDB will have consistent performance at almost any scale. So if you have a very small database, it will be quite performant. But if you will have a huge, enormous database placed to DynamoDB, it will be the same performant as it was with very small amount of data. Yes, and Amazon DynamoDB is durable, so you are not going to lose any data. And as I said it for Lambda, DynamoDB is also very, very simple. So you can just put your JSONs into the DynamoDB and they will be here. And there is no chance that you will lose something, and you pay only for write and read operations. And that's quite cool, I think. Let's move on to the next one. And it is Amazon API Gateway. API Gateway is API management tool, which we will use for our today's workshop. So basically, it enables us to expose our resources to the internet. Yes, and it could be imagined like front door of your APIs of your applications, which are accessible from the external resources from the internet. And using the API Gateway, you are able to deploy both of REST APIs and WebSockets APIs, so you can develop some applications which are quite conservative from the user's perspective, just like they could use only CRUD operations, but except that you are able to use API gateway and lambdas, for instance, to deploy some real-time applications which will fetch data and which will your front-end applications could be informed about any changes in the models which are happened in the database in close to real time. So the main purpose of WebSockets APIs could be, for instance, chats. Yes, and Amazon API Gateway is quite secure because all the security infrastructure is managed and maintained by Amazon. All that you have to care is authentication and authorizations, and you may use a variety of ways to secure your application, to establish authentication. For instance, you can use Amazon Cognito service, which is also a serverless service which could be used for authentication, or you can write your own Lambda authorizer. And yeah, Amazon API Gateway also could be used to cache the data, and this is a really great feature to save your money, actually, because all requests, all API calls to your services will consume your money because your Lambda is running and consuming money. Your database DynamoDB has been queried and also consumes some money. But if you are pretty much sure that some data will not be changed during the defined amount of time, you can cache this data using API Gateway. So in that case, if user, for instance, doubled the query, the second query will not invoke the Lambda. It will not invoke the code. It will be responded by data which is just got from cache. And S3, which is I think very first service which was developed within the Amazon Web Services, and it is very simple object storage. So basically it is a place where you can just put your objects, and I believe that you're familiar with it because you have used S3 buckets to host your static websites during the previous task. So yeah, I think that you know how to work with it in some rough general way. Yeah, and SLA of Amazon S3 is 11 nines, which is really surprising. So using S3, you also could be sure that your data, your objects will not be lost. Yeah, and actually S3 has a variety of classes like infrequent access buckets, glacier buckets, and so on. So you can choose proper class of the storage for your use case. For instance, if your data, if you are going to keep some backups in S3 bucket, you may leverage Glacier storage because this Glacier is very, very cheap, but retrieval time might be like from minutes to hours. But if you keep backups, you don't care about the retrieval time because it is a backup. It is only for some emergency, and you hope that this emergency will never happen. Okay, and I think that right now we can go to the workshop itself. I will put the link to the chat. One moment. I will do it in one moment. So the link that I have provided, it contains the access code. And once you click it, you will be able to see this screen with some options to log in. In my case and in your case, we will use one-time password, which will be emailed to your email, which you have submitted into the registration form. If you did not submit any email, unfortunately, you will not be able to go through this workshop using account which is provided by Amazon. But anyway, I encourage you to go with us and use your own account, because this workshop is very cheap. Actually, if you still have free tier, you will be able to go through the workshop using free tier account. Maybe you will be charged for maybe 1 or 2 cents if you will use Amazon recognition, but if you don't want to be charged, just skip the last part of the workshop, and that's it. So yeah, I have typed my email and wait till OTP will be delivered to my email. Okay, it is here. And I will put it. Great, sign-in is successful and we are redirected to the workshop studio. Event access code, one moment, it is here. In your case, you will not be asked for any access codes. If you successfully signed in into the workshop studio, please put something in the chat. It might be plus or signed in. Okay, so here we have some terms of and conditions which we are going to stick to, and we can agree. Great, a lot of people who joined the workshop studio as well, and we are joining the event. Great, I see that a lot of people could sign in. And while we are waiting, I think that we can go through the description of the workshop. So today we are going to create our first serverless application, and it will be very simple to do app. And as I said before, we will use Amazon S3, Lambdas, API gateway. We will use AWS Amplify, and I will give you a small brief while we will be setting up the Amplify CLI. What is it? Except that we will use Amazon Recognition, which is also great service based on machine learning, and I will give small brief about that as well. Let's go to the application architecture. So here is basically the architecture of this application. We will host our static website, single page application using Amplify hosting. So technically, Amplify hosting will use S3 and CloudFront to host your static website. So it will do pretty much the same thing that you have been doing last week during your last homework. So basically, frontend is here. That's it. What about the backend part? Backend part will use Lambda as a runtime. So we will put our code base to Lambdas. We will use multiple Lambdas, and we will expose all those Lambdas to web browser of our users using API gateway. And these Lambdas will interact with some other services like S3 to keeping images. Also, we will use Amazon DynamoDB to store data of our application, and we will use Amazon recognition to recognize some stuff on the images which are uploaded by the users. Okay. If someone is not able to sign in, please put minus in the chat and we will try our best to help you. And while we are waiting, I think that we can move to the next part. And before the starting the workshop is necessary step if you are doing workshop on your own in your account. But in our case, we are doing the workshop in AWS provided accounts, and all the steps which we have to do within the preparation step are done for us. So we can just skip this part. In this part, actually, we have to register an AWS account, create IAM users, set up Cloud9 workspace, and so on. In our case, all this stuff has been done, so we can go to the left part of our screen, and here we have link which says Open AWS Console, and we can click on this link, and we will be redirected to the AWS Console. Please make sure that you are in the proper region, which is Oregon for this workshop. It is US West 2. If you are redirected to some other region, just pick it manually. Oregon is proper region for our workshop. Okay, and let's go through the instructions. Let's check prerequisites. First of all, we will use Cloud9 as development environment today. You can use any environment that you like. For instance, you can use Visual Studio Code, you can use WebStorm, but in case of Cloud9, you will be provided by AWS CLI and some other necessary dependencies which are installed in the machine which is running Cloud9 IDE. So you may go to the Cloud9 service and just press open link. And after that, it will take a bit of time to start the virtual machine which is lying underneath of the IDE. And great, you are in Cloud9 right now. You can use command who am I to check that you are ACT user. Great. What should we do inside the Cloud9? We have to check that we use proper Node.js version. So the version which is used for today's workshop is Node.js v20. So we will put node -- version into the console. Yeah, sure, Pavel. Take your time. So on my machine, Node.js 20 is installed. If in your case Node.js version is Node 20, you can use NVM to modify Node.js version. How to do it? Actually, we have instructions. We got you covered. So use this set of commands to install NVM and then to install Node.js v20 and to switch to Node.js v20. I hope that none of you will face any issues on this step. So let's go to the very last instruction. Oh, it's not very last. Okay. Anyway, we have a set of commands. First one is just change directory to environment. The second one is to clone some Git repository to our Cloud9 environment. So we can check which repository do we use. It is environment, and I will clone this Git repository to this local machine. And after successful run of this command, we can see this directory in the sidebar of Cloud9. So here we have a set of files which we will be using today. Tell me if that pace is good for you, or should I slow down a bit? Okay, I will slow down. Sure. Take your time, guys. So while you are cloning this repository, I will explain what the steps are listed here. Okay, repository link. I will put it in the chat. Yeah, sure, I will slow down. So actually we have one more step which says avoiding free space issues with Cloud9. So in some cases, you know how all this infrastructure for the workshops are provisioned. Actually, AWS uses CloudFormation for automation of whole provisioning. So in some cases, some scripts might fail, and your Cloud9 actually EC2 machine, which lies underneath of the Cloud9, could have a bit less space than we need. In that cases, you can see some error messages in your console, or you can face some issues during the deployment process and so on. So to avoid this process, to avoid those issues, you can just copy all this code and try to expand the storage which is mounted to your machine. But actually it is not kind of necessary because right now it should be okay. Yeah, and we have to ensure that we have SAM CLI, and let me check it. Wow, on my machine we do have SAM CLI. So once you are done with cloning your Git repository, please ensure that you have SAM CLI installed on your machine by typing SAM -- version in the console. By the way, is it visible or should I just zoom in? It's okay. That's great. Okay. So we have SAM CLI installed on our machines, and let's move to the okay, resizing is not necessary actually, so we will skip this part, and let's check that we have Amplify CLI installed. To do it, you can go to your console, put Amplify -- version. Great, Amplify command not found. That means that we have to install Amplify by our own, and that's great. What should we do? we have to go to the instructions, and here we have install Amplify CLI. One moment. Yeah, we will use npm, which is node packet manager, to install okay, anyway, to install Amplify CLI. Let's wait for a couple of minutes until the Amplify CLI will be installed. And let me tell you what is Amplify CLI. Actually, Amplify is a service which is provided by Amazon, and this service is used to it is created to make interaction with AWS Cloud a bit more easy than if you use some other services like EC2, S3, CloudFront, and so on. So Amplify is used to create some MVPs of your applications and so on. And actually Amplify has been upgraded, and it has been upgraded significantly last month, maybe in May. And so before, okay, it is installed. So before the upgrade, Amplify was a service which was providing us a list of features to ease our life to make life of front-end developers and mobile developers a bit easier. So you can think about the Amplify as about the Firebase, which is a bit more popular than Amplify, but it is some kind of Firebase but on steroids, because it provides you feature of hosting, for instance, not only the static website but also website which is hosted by server-side rendering. Also, you can build your backend. It could be real-time backend which uses GraphQL, and you could do it visually, because we had Amplify Studio in Amplify v1, but right now we use Amplify v2 and we are not to do it visually. So now Amplify is using code first approach, which is quite okay. So you can use TypeScript to write your backend code and to deploy it by 2 mouse clicks, and your code will be run and will be exposed by some services like Amazon AppSync. So your backend will interact with some front ends or with other APIs using GraphQL. Okay. I believe that all of you have successfully installed Amplify CLI. If you have faced any issues on that step, please put the message into the chat. No problems. Okay. If I will see any messages about the problems, I will answer them. But right now we have to go to the next step, and it is configuration of Amplify CLI. So all that we have to do is use command amplify configure, and then we will be redirected to the console. If you are not redirected, that's okay. You can just click the link. What after that? We have to go to the IAM service, which is used to manage accounts and users. Let's go to the users, and you can just click on the users link on the sidebar, and here you can see that we have only one user. But Amplify needs some service user to interact with console. Oh, sorry, not with console, but with AWS APIs. So we will create new user, and you can put any name that you like. I will put Amplify admin. I will not provide user access to the AWS Management Console. Actually, it might be a bad practice to provide users access to console using IAM users, because nowadays you have to leverage IAM Identity Center for it. In our case, we are not using this user to access management console, so that's okay. Here you can set permissions for this user. So actually, good practice is to use groups. So you will create some user groups, you will assign permissions to groups, and then you will assign any user to any group and manage permissions in that way. In our case, we are doing our first application, so we are not forced to stick to best practices, so I will attach policies directly, which is not recommended to do because it might bring us some problems while we will be troubleshooting policies, access policies, and so on. So the policy that we have to attach named administrator access amplify, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I am not mistaken. So you can just click and then go to the next page, which is just a summary of the user which is created. So all is fine. We have attached proper permissions. That's it. We will create this user. Great. User has been created. So what's next? We have to go to this user, and here we have some tabs like permissions, where we can observe all the permissions which are attached to this user. But as I said before, the best practice is to use groups. We should use groups to manage our users' permissions, but in our case we don't use it, so groups are empty. Also tags. Tags are very interesting thing in AWS, because you can they are optional. So basically you can just attach some key value to any of your Amazon resources. And why do we need tags? Tags are used to manage your infrastructure, to distinguish between the resources, to differentiate them. For instance, you can use tags to differentiate resources within some dashboards and so on. So in my case, I usually use tags to manage applications. So for resources which belong to some application or to some environment of some application, I attach proper tags, and in that way I am able to differentiate, for instance, cost of any application from another application. And here is the tab that we need. It named security credentials, and this one is force, and here we can manage credentials which this user have. For instance, we can provide console sign-in link, but actually we did not enable console access. We can assign multi-factor authentication, or we can manage SSH keys and so on. But the thing that we have to do now is to create access key. So actually access keys are used to grant access for some systems to get access to AWS programmatically. So you will be able just to put some access key and secret access key, and this resource will be able to make API calls to AWS using those secrets, and AWS will enable an access to the resources within this account to some system which is using these credentials. So here AWS is asking us, so what is the use case for creation of key pair? So in our case we will use CLI. Actually it will not depend, the access keys will not depend on what use case will we choose here, but we will get some recommendation, like if you use some CLIs, please use another way to attach your user credentials to CLI. In our case, we don't use AWS CLI, we don't use AWS Cloud Shell, we use Amplify CLI, and that's okay to attach access key and secret key to the AWS CLI. Description tag value, and here we can put something like key pair used for Amplify CLI, and we will create access key. Here, yeah, all is created. So what's next? We can, please don't close this window because we will need this key pair right now. Or you can just download the CSV file and keys will be stored. And what should we do next? The next step is to attach those keys to the AWS CLI. So we go to the Cloud9 where we are still in configuration of Amplify, and then we will press enter. And AWS CLI asks us to put some inputs like what region will we use. We will use Oregon, which is US West 2. Yeah. Actually we have created user, and we will I will press enter to continue, and then AWS Amplify CLI asks us for the access key ID, and it is not secret, it is listed here, so you can just press the copy button and access key has been copied. So basically you are able to put it, just paste it here and press enter. What's next? Secret access key. This one is secret and it is hidden. You can press show and show the secret access key, but I will not recommend it. So you can just copy it as well, paste it here. After that, you can choose profile name for your Amplify user, for AWS user, and I will leave it as default. Great. User has been created. Yeah, Pavel is right. Best practice is to download CSV file and put it in some secret place. But you know, if you will share the CSV with someone, your keys will be exposed. So you shouldn't share the CSV file with anyone. Okay, in my case, CLI is fully configured. And what's next? Next is the pretty much nice next button. I will press it and go to the step 1. Yeah, actually we have 6 steps within the workshop, and I hope that we will manage to go through all of them in 1 hour. But we have a bit more than 2 hours of the workshop. Here on the step 1 we have some description, explanation what is SAM, but I have provided this description and I hope that it was quite comprehensive to you. If not, you can just Google it. So yeah, let's go to our application. Let's go to the Cloud9. Here we can choose directory named SAM, and we have YAML file called template.yaml. So this YAML file contains all the resources that SAM will create for us. It is our infrastructure. So let's try to read it. It is YAML, so YAML is very, very user-friendly, I believe, and easy to read. So it starts with AWS template format version and transform AWS serverless. This string, this line, transform AWS serverless, says us that it is not CloudFormation template, it is SAM template. Then we can declare some globals. It is something like global variables. So, it is not variable, but the settings which will be applied to all resources within the same template. If the resource is not defining this setting explicitly. So here we have setting for function, which is Lambda actually. So we use Node.js 20 as a runtime, and we have 3 seconds of runtime, of timeout, sorry. And we have defined course options for our API. So basically we are just providing wildcards, and we are disabling course. Let's go to the next block. It called resources, and here we are defining all the resources which will be created, which are required for our infrastructure. So we have tasks API, which has type of AWS Serverless API, and this API means API gateway. So SAM will leverage API gateway to deploy tasks API. And we can provide some properties like authorizers, which will be used to authorize users to this API. In our case, we will use Lambda authorizer. Surprise, surprise, we will do it a bit later. And stage name. What else? We have some function which is used to authentication, and we have set of other functions like get tasks, get task by ID, delete tasks. So basically it is a CRUD lambdas. What else? We have something like get token function, get signed URL function, which are used to expose our resources. For instance, get signed URL function will expose resources from bucket for user, make them visible without using CloudFront. And we have uploads bucket, which will be used to keep the images from our users. And we have block of outputs. This is very it's quite the same as CloudFormation outputs, and actually here we are defining the outputs which will be created by CloudFormation, because how SAM works, once you try to deploy something with SAM, it will transpile your template to CloudFormation template, and then it will interact with Amazon CloudFormation service to deploy your infrastructure. Okay, we have some code here, we have infrastructure, we have some JavaScript code here in source directory, but what should we do? Let's go to instructions and check. Okay, here are the explanations, and yeah, I told you that we will use DynamoDB table to keep the data, but it was not it is not existing in the template. So what should we do? We have to add the DynamoDB table to SAM template. Basically, you can just copy this code, go to Cloud9, then navigate to resources block in the template.yaml, and put the code which is copied by you to the resources block right above the tasks API, for instance. And what will it do? This code will create tasks table with type DynamoDB and with some properties which are defined, like attribute name, user, which has type of string. This S attribute type means string in terms of DynamoDB. And also we have ID of user, also with type of string. Also we have to define key schema. So our user will be primary key. Oh, actually, we will construct primary key by concatenating user and its ID. And the last line is billing mode. So our DynamoDB table will have pay per request billing mode. I'm not sure about the second one. I believe that it is provisioned. So you can save your money by using provisioned. For instance, if you are sure that you will have some persistent workload during the next period of time. But in our case, we will choose pay per request, which could be a bit more expensive than provisioned one. But in case of provisioned, you have to be sure that you will have this workload, because you will pay for it. You guarantee that you will pay for it. And if you deploy some small database which will not have a lot of queries within it, it would be better to use pay per request. Let's move on. And the next step is to create one more Lambda. So, it is not creation of Lambda, it is about the Lambda code. So as I said before, Lambda is very simple. Lambda is just running the code which you have provided to it. Oh, sorry. So what you have to do, you have to go to the Cloud9 and open create task Lambda. It is placed in src/handlers/create task. And here we have app.mjs file, module.js file, which is empty. So right now, if we will try to deploy our application, creation of any task will not work, because no code here, basically. So it will not even answer, send any response. What we have to do, we have to go to the code here, and we can copy it and just put into the MJS file. Are you okay with the pace, or should I slow down again? Please put plus in the chat if you are okay, if you are on the track. Great. So let's go through the Lambda code. Actually, it is a bit strange to you. It might be a bit strange that we... Okay, great. We just export some handler, and it is a synchronous function, and it has some code here. Before the function declaration here, we have some code like initiation of DynamoDB client, and also we retrieve DynamoDB table name from process environment variables. And actually we put this table name here in some YAML in template. You can go to the to the any Lambda, and you can see that we have environment block, and in the environment block we can see variables and this tasks table, which is just a reference to the tasks table resource which is created above this function right here. And then we will be able to retrieve this tasks table name in the runtime. Some magic here. Okay, so on creation of task, we will just console put this information into the console to make it visible in CloudWatch. I will show you a bit later. Then we just parse event body because we provide the data which is needed to create new task using post request and put all the data into the body. After that, we can retrieve user ID using authorizer data, and we create unique ID for created task using UUID library, which is basically just creating unique IDs for us. And then we just create task title and task body text just by parsing the body object, and create created at timestamp just by invoking new data object. Yeah, and we have one more field here, due date, which is equal to created at, and if we are providing it in body, we will assign it. If not, it will be equal to created at. Okay, and here we are creating parameter object for DynamoDB query. So we just define table name and item parameters. What after that? Then we will put into the console one more message about starting DynamoDB operation, and then we will send put command to DynamoDB client. Okay, and in case of successful put operation, we will get this one in the console and send response object. So please make sure that the object that you are returning from the Lambda, it has this structure with status code, headers, and body. Because if you will make some mistakes, like you will put just status without status code, you will receive internal server errors on API calls. And here we have header for disabling CORS. Yeah, that's it. What else? Yeah, and we have to go to YAML template and then add this create task function to the template, to our resources, to be sure that this resource will be created. We can do it right here in the resources block. I will navigate to functions just to keep all the functions at one place. Yeah, and also keep in mind that here we use YAML, which is yeah, all is fine. We use YAML, and we have to pay attention to indentations. Okay, here is one question in the chat about imports in Lambda. So Pavel asks, for example, I want to import some function to Lambda, and this was a problem when I tried to do it in CDK. It was working only if the files in the same directory were Lambda. Why? I believe that you tried to use did you use ES6 imports? And I think that it is because you use CDK, which is not bundling all the Lambda codes into the one file to deploy. So actually good practice is to bundle all the code which is used in one Lambda to one file and then upload one file. It improves performance of Lambdas, and it's easier to manage. So if you try to deploy some Lambda, it will be deployed with all files which are in the same directory and which are imported. and CDK will not traverse over the folders, and it will not CDK will not include code which is placed in another folders to the uploaded Lambda code. So actually, Lambda code folder structure is flat as far as I know. So in your case, I would recommend you to use some bundler, for instance, ES build, and bundle all the code to one file. And if you try to import something from node modules, for instance, some dependencies, you can also, one way of including dependencies to your code is bundling. The second way is using Lambda layers. So you can archive your dependencies to some to one archive, and then put it into the Lambda layer and put reference to this layer in some exact Lambda, and this layer will be used for this Lambda, and your dependency will be included. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, and I'd like to say that YAML is white space sensitive. Please pay attention that all the indentations here are correct. Okay, what's next? Here we will use authorizer to establish authorization on API gateway. So we will leverage Lambda authorizer. The second way is to use Cognito, for instance. Cognito is authorization service. Lambda authorizer will be invoked before each Lambda on user request, and basically it will analyze GW token which is provided by this Lambda, and after that it will create IAM policy document, and this document will be kind of attached to the request. So let's go to the code. We will copy it and put it here in src/auth in app.mjs, and we can go through this code as well. So here we just import JWT library, and then we analyze token which is passed as bearer prefix and then token itself. So here we just split this token string and get the token itself. After that we verify this token by some secret phrase, and if there were some authorization issues like invalid token is not correct, has some, maybe it might be corrupted, we will just throw an error. Otherwise we will verify it and get the resource just by parsing method arrayn string and generate some policy. Generation of policy is in another function here. So basically this authorization is mocked, and we will not do any calls to any APIs like to Cognito or to IAM to check that this exact user has access to this exact resource. But you know, if you try to establish authorization, you have to do some API calls to check users data. In our case, we generate policy. Just it generates static policy actually. Here is the code which generates this policy. So we create some blank object, and after that we will assign some stuff to this object, like policy document, statements. So here we have statements to make able our user to invoke some, for instance, functions, and then we return this policy attached to our response. Okay, yeah, so we generated policy, and then we invoke callback, which is provided here. So callback will be will redirect the request to the Lambda. Actually, we have to save it, and yeah, here is the example of policy document which is created by this authorization Lambda. So basically we will allow to invoke the function for this user. That's it. Let's go to the next step. In this step we will build our application, and after that we will deploy it. So how to build our application? As I said, we have fancy CLI, which allows us to build our application just by prompting some build in the console. Let's go to the SAM directory and type SAM build, and let's wait for a while SAM is doing its magic. So what SAM does in that step? SAM will transpile its templates to the CloudFormation, and also it will build your code. So the main advantage of SAM over the CDK is that SAM builds your Lambda's code, and SAM is able to run your Lambda's code locally. But CDK also has some advantages, like I know that you use CDK for your home tasks right now, and CDK is a very nice way to manage your infrastructure if you are not DevOps but you are a developer. So you can use your favorite language to manage your infrastructure. You can use some language structures to manage infrastructure. For instance, you can use ternary operations. You can use some cycles to iterate over, for instance, over the buckets. You can create multiple buckets with one code. And also the very cool stuff about the CDK is that you can cover your infrastructure code with unit tests, which is a really great feature. Okay, let's move on. One moment. So my project has been built. What else should we do? So after that we have to deploy our application, and we will use this command, sam deploy -- guided. And it asks several questions, like what region do you use to deploy your application? US West 2 is correct one. And I will confirm the changes. Yes, I will allow SAM create some IAM roles. I will disable rollback. No, I will not disable it. And I will save arguments to configuration file, and it will be some config.toml, and default environment is okay. And SAM will create all the resources under the hood, and that's very cool what Sam does right now. Sam will do some API calls to AWS to create all the resources which are listed in the template.yaml, and all the stuff that we have listed in the template are in creation status right now. We can check it actually. Let's go to CloudFormation service. Okay, we can see that we have stack here. This one, AWS CLI managed default, and it is create complete. Status is complete. That's not true actually, because Sam asks should we deploy this change set, and we have a list of resources which will be created, like Lambda permission, IAM role for create task function, because create task function should be able to create new entities in DynamoDB table and so on. So here we have a list of resources, and all of them will be created. Operation is add, and I am going to confirm that's correct, and I approve, and after that Sam will create this tag. And yeah, right now we have new stack created named Sam app, and this one is in create and progress status. We can go to this stack and we can see resources list, and here we do have all the resources that we tried to create, like bucket, DynamoDB table, some IAM roles, authentication function, and so on, and CRUD functions like create, delete, get task by ID, get all tasks, get tokens, yeah, and yeah, here is authentication function. We don't have update function actually, so technically we have only create, read, and delete operations, not CRUD but CRD. Let's check that Sam has created all the stuff. Yeah, all the resources are successfully created, and now we are able to check that our resources are working, because we have some outputs, and we have URL of our API gateway, which is used to call your APIs, to invoke your lambdas. But if you will try to open it in your browser, you will get this message, missing authentication token. So now you have to put some token into the headers. That's okay. Let's go to the next step. Yeah, actually we have a very nice front-end application, which is here in the web app folder, and you can go to this application, open source folder here, and in main.js file you have 6th line where you have to set up default URL for access base URL. So what should you paste here is your API gateway URL. Yeah, and make sure that you will not have any extra spaces, trailing spaces, and so on. And you even can just delete the trailing slash. It should work without it. What else? I think that, yeah, as I said, trailing slash is should be deleted. And now we have to initialize Amplify within the front-end application to deploy it. So I will go to the web app folder and just prompt Amplify init here. and this command will initialize Amplify CLI in this application. We have to enter a name for this project, and let me call it tasks frontend. And all information is correct. Yeah, name is right, environment dev is okay, default editor is VS Code, okay, app type is JavaScript, framework has been detected automatically, it is Vue, source path directory is src, all is fine, and I will confirm. How will we deploy our application? How Amplify CLI will interact with AWS APIs? We will use AWS profile since we have set it up before. You can remember that we configured profile in AWS Amplify CLI, and I named it default. You can choose the name that you have chosen before. I picked default, and let's wait a couple of minutes while Amplify CLI is creating some resources. Yeah, Amplify will also leverage CloudFormation to manage the resources within your account. It will create something like IAM role to manage your application. It will create bucket which will keep your deployments and so on. And Amplify asks us, do we want to share some configuration on failures? No, we won't. Okay, deployment state saved successfully. So right now Amplify has been initiated. What's next? Yeah, we have done all of that. So yeah, now we have to build our front-end application. We have to install all the dependencies using npm I command, which is just basically shortcut for npm install. Yeah, and it will take a while to install all dependencies. No, it was very quick. And npm run build, I believe. Yeah, this is correct command to build the front-end application. Sure. Okay, it has been built. What's next? The next step is to let Amplify know that we want to host our static web page, SPA. We can do it by amplify at hosting command. After that, Amplify CLI will ask us what way of hosting do we want? Hosting with Amplify console or with CloudFront and S3? We will use Amplify console hosting. And we will choose manual deployment. Yeah, because the second option is continuous deployment. So your GitHub repository, for instance, will be able to make some webhook calls and trigger continuous integration pipeline in Amplify. Okay, so we have chosen manual deployments, and here Amplify CLI gives us small hint that using command amplify publish we will be able to deploy our front-end application too. Let's try to do it. It asks, is it fine to create this environment? Yes, that's fine. So right now Amplify is using CloudFormation to create new resources. It will be CloudFormation stack, which consists of Amplify branch, And under the hood it will be S3 and CloudFront. Okay, it seems that it will take less time than I thought. Yeah, so Amplify on deploy Amplify publish command, it will automatically build your front-end application, and then it will upload files from this folder to the proper bucket. Yeah, before publishing it will zip all the files and they will be unarchived in the cloud. And here we can see the link that could be used to test your application. Okay, great, it works. Yeah, and we have username and password inputs here, and you can put anything here actually, like admin, and it will work since our authentication lambda is mock1. Yeah, we can save the password. I will not do it. And here we can see the form. Task number 1. Task number 1 description. Due date. We can put it like 15th of June. Create. Oh, great. This task has been created, and we can go to network tab and see that this is get to render this task. This was post request, which had title, body, and due date in the task body, and as response we got metadata. It is metadata of the request, and after that we just fetch it, this newly created task. Yeah, and also we put some data into the console to make debugging more visible. Let's create one more task. Task number 2. Mock description. And let's see. It also has been created. And let's check. Can we remove any task from this panel using delete button? And we have sent delete request to this resource, and no response here. But after new get request, we got only task number 2. We have successfully deleted task number 1. Okay, you can see that I am not only lead software engineer, but I am also quality assurance engineer. So we have successfully tested our application, and we can go to the next step. Oh yeah, it could be a good idea to try to access the data that we can see here in DynamoDB. How can we do it? We can go to DynamoDB service, and here in the dashboard we have a lot of information, but the thing that we need is third link here, explore items. And we can choose DynamoDB table, which is created by Sam, and here we have user entity, which is user-admin. As I said, we create this string, this string by, this is task. Here is admin, and for this user we have task number, it is task number 2 with this ID, which is constructor by concatenation of task and ID, unique ID of task. We have description, we have created and due date fields. Are you okay with the pace, guys? please put plus in the chat if you are doing okay and you are on track. If not, please put minus. And the second thing that we can observe is CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a service which is used as an observability tool in AWS. So basically you can observe some streams, log streams here in CloudWatch, and you can debug your applications using CloudWatch. Actually, it is a very sophisticated tool which provides you a really broad set of instruments to debug your applications. Like we have metrics, we have X-ray traces where you can trace whole path of the request within your cloud. We have some AI-powered stuff like anomaly detection and so on. But the thing that we are interested right now is very, very simple. It is log groups. Oh. Pavel says that his application link is leading to view site. Could you please share the screenshot of the site? Maybe it is your web app, but your front-end code is not correct, and you have blank Vue.js application. Okay, here we have multiple log streams, log groups actually, and you can differentiate them by the name. Like get tasks function is the Lambda which retrieves all the functions of the exact user and sends them to front end. So we can go to this log group and choose proper log stream, only one here, and then we are able to see all the logs here. So when you try to put something to console using, for instance, console info or console log, they will appear here and received, and here we have stringified version of event object. Also, you can put some errors here and so on. So all the stuff which is fired with system std out, it is console object methods in JavaScript, it is print in Python and so on. They will appear here in the logs, and you will be able to trace your errors, to debug using CloudWatch. So yeah, please keep in mind that you have such a powerful tool like CloudWatch once you will have any issues with your Lambdas. And yeah, I think that the main part of our workshop is done, and we have very, very minor but interesting part. So it is last two steps. Actually, fifth step is very, very interesting. It is adding Amazon recognition functions to our tasks management system. Let's call it like that. So here you can see that we have some feature like attach some file, and you can attach it right now, but I am not sure that it will work. Let's try to upload. Yeah, it's not working. Why? Oh, it works right now, but detection of labels doesn't work. Why? Because we don't have any code which will leverage Amazon recognition to detect labels. So recognition, if you can get by its name, it is a machine learning powered service which enables you to to recognize anything on images. Sorry. Okay, so and now we will try to add this recognition feature to detect anything that we will put to the to detect something on images that we will put here, which we will upload. So the main use case for recognition is, for instance, if you use user avatars, you can recognize some inappropriate stuff on avatars, and then moderator will be able to delete this avatar, or you can even delete some avatars with not safe content automatically. Also, you can use recognition, for instance, to compare content of your articles on your web page with the illustration. How do they correlate between each other, and so on. So here we have code to recognize something using Amazon recognition. Let's copy this code, and here in Cloud9 we go to SAM, and then we will go to detect labels in source, and yeah, one more empty module.js file. Let's put the code here. Okay, what this code does. Actually, this code will create a DynamoDB client, document client for DynamoDB, and it will also create a recognition client. Here we have bucket name parsed from the event object, and we have to, this key is key of the image which is uploaded. It should be so. Yeah, it is object key, and in this object key we have user and task ID also, because the images will be named like user plus task ID. And here we will create comment which will update our DynamoDB entity, some entity within the DynamoDB. It will be task entity. So here, and after that we will try to, update comment is sent maybe a bit later. No, it is sent here. So we update our DynamoDB entity here. It is just a reference to console to let us know which task has been updated with what illustration, like S3 bucket and object key is placed here. And in case of errors we have console log, but I would put console error here instead of console log. And after successful uploading of image, we will leverage recognition. We have image params object created here. So basically we will put reference to the, like we are just pointing to some exact object, and we will ask recognition to detect labels on this object. So after that, recognition will analyze our image, and it will detect some things on the image, and it will return array. It will return it will return object, but in this object we will have array of labels here. So we have label data object, and in labels we have array of detected labels. And after that we will update DynamoDB table one more time with detected labels, and that's it. Should we do something else? Yes, we have to add this function to template because right now we don't have this function in the template.yaml. Let's open the template.yaml file and go to the functions part right there and put the tag labels functions declaration here. So as I told before, here we have just reference to the type of serverless function, which stands for Lambda function, actually, pointing to the code which should be uploaded to this Lambda. We reference to tasks table and put it as environment variable, and we invoke this function once object created event is fired by S3 bucket. So it is the difference between this function, for instance, and create task function, which is invoked once on the API we have request received. We have post task function API, and once this API has been called, this function will be invoked. In case of image recognition, we will invoke this Lambda once object is created within the S3 bucket. That's it. Let's save the template and go to SAM in command line and one more SAM deploy. Yeah, SAM keeps uploading some files which are just describing the existing infrastructure, since they are uploaded to S3 bucket with all the file descriptions, and they are also has been created. So we will go only to stack is up to date. Maybe we have to build first. We definitely have to build. If you face some issues with course, please check that your code has been saved, and I mean code of lambdas, because your lambdas are in code of your lambdas we are trying to add proper headers to disable course. You may put the code, but you may also forget to save this JavaScript file before the building and deployment. Okay, build succeeded, and now we can deploy. Also, I can see one more error. Copy the template YAML, please. I will try with your version because I got an issue. Okay, unresolved resource dependencies, tasks table. It seems that you have wrong white spacing in your template. I see this complaint by Timur Gain. And I hope that once you fix your white spacing, you will be able to deploy your template. If not, you can just roll back your template file using Git and try to add proper resources in proper way. Okay, CloudFormation change set is correct. Yes, I am adding detect labels function object. I am adding detect labels function role. Yes, detect labels function. That's correct. And I am updating uploads bucket to give an access for newly created Lambda function. That's correct, and I will confirm this change set and it will be deployed. While we are waiting, Timur, could you please say all is fine with your template? And you guys who had issues with course, could you please check that your create Lambda should have code saved, and in the second case I am not sure. You tried to upload a file before creation of the Lambda? Okay, my code has been deployed and we can go to our frontend application. Oh, let's try to choose what image will we upload. First of all, I really like coffee on the table. I love coffee, so I am going to upload some images about coffee. Here we have some details, so I will save image. Yep. And the second one will be cats with balls, for instance. Oh, sorry guys. Cats playing. Let's pick this one. And I will choose the file coffee on the table and I'll upload this one. Okay, label detection works. Great. So on this image we have detected some labels like beverage, coffee, coffee cup, furniture, table, latte art, tabletop, cutlery, spoon and cup. Let me show you the image. Yeah, here it is. And I think that labels are quite good. We have some beverage, we have coffee. Yeah, we definitely have coffee cups, furniture, table. We have latte art on the coffee, and it is even this art has been detected by recognition. Yeah, it is tabletop, cutlery, spoon here, and cup. Yeah, all is fine, I think. Let's try to. Yeah, now we don't have upload file option, so definitely have to create one more task. Let's schedule next workshop will be the next task for me. Pick proper topic and prepare workshop and due date. Please advise what will be the date for the next workshop. Yeah, let's try to do it maybe in 2 weeks, but I will make decision maybe next weekend and I will create the task. I will choose new file here, and cat's playing this file is the proper one. Okay, it is the image and labels for the image. We have child. I'm not sure that it is child, but she might be child. Female, yeah, she is female. Girl, person, animal, cat, mammal, pet. I think that labels are quite accurate. That's great. Our application works, and we even have some AI features in our application. I think that's exciting that in a bit more than 2 hours we are able to create our first cloud native application using Lambda's API gateway, S3, and DynamoDB, because these are the very basics of serverless applications, but this application is cloud native. It uses these services, and once you will be senior, once you are senior, you will still use this basis of serverless like Lambdas, API gateways, DynamoDBs, and so on. And I hope that you liked the workshop. And actually, we have one more step here, and it is resources termination. And it is very essential to terminate resources after the workshops. Not only after the workshops, once you are done with the course, I strongly encourage you to destroy all the resources which you have created during the course, because it can help you significantly to avoid any unexpected costs, for instance, unexpected charges by AWS, because someday your feature will expire and you will be charged for this log file which you are still keeping in your CloudWatch, or for some binary files in your buckets, and so on. So sweeping up after yourselves is very, very important. But right now you are going through the workshop with Amazon provided accounts, and once the workshop will be wrapped up, all the resources and all the accounts will be removed and destroyed. So we can just skip this step as well, because we are covered by Amazon here. But if you are going through the workshop using your accounts, please do not skip this part and clean up the resources. You can do it by running one Python code which will just clean up the S3 bucket with uploaded images. After that, you can just run one command which is sem delete, and sem will do all the work for you. It will delete and remove all the resources that are created in terms of this stack, and you will avoid any charges. Yeah, and also don't forget to destroy your front-end application as well, because front-end application will charge you too. You can do it by going to web app folder and pressing and by typing amplify delete command. Except that, yeah, we have a bunch of log streams, log groups created. You can also delete these log groups. And yeah, that's the very last step. So yeah, and this workshop is fully created by Amazon employees, and you can Google Serverless Land. This is very, very cool website, which is kind of collection of articles, very good articles about serverless, which is created by one of the developer advocates of Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I encourage you to visit this site too. And that's it. Yeah, I think that we have 5 extra minutes for questions, and I can see that even though I am facing 4.3 during image upload, I got parsed labels. Could you please tell me, do you face on upload or on getting this image? That's strange because if you are not able to upload the image, that recognition won't be able to detect anything on this image. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them here in chat in the Discord. I believe that questions part is very, very important. Okay, it seems that we don't have any questions. I'm not sure is it good or bad. Maybe I was so comprehensive that you don't have any other questions. Or maybe I was so bad that you don't want to ask any questions. Anyway, I have one more inquiry for you guys. Here I have QR code. Just bring your phone and go through this QR code, and you will go to the feedback form. Please leave your feedback. Spend 5 minutes or even 3 minutes to leave the feedback, because it is very, very important for us. It is essential to increase quality of our course in the Rolling Scope School. And also it is very important to myself, because I am obsessed with self-improvement, and I hope that this feedback will also help me to improve my public speaking skills too. I'll give you 1 more minute to scan this QR code and go to the feedback form. Okay, I hope that all of you guys have scanned and left some feedback. It might be pleasant or not, it doesn't matter. Just be honest with us. Thank you. And yeah, this is my very, very last slide. I really appreciate you guys for being with me for the last 2.5 hours. And during this time, we have created serverless application, and I hope that it was useful for you, and it will help you to excel your skills, and it will maybe your interest in AWS even more strong, even stronger. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys. Yeah, and I see that we have some screenshots from Jen KBY. Okay. Yeah, let me reach you out in the chat after the wrapping up the workshop. Right now, I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, thank you. Have a nice one, and bye-bye.